If you're not excited for this up-and-coming star, then I really don't know what to tell you. With 9 submission wins, 3 knockouts, and his only decision being a loss where over 200 significant strikes were exchanged, the grappling god of war, Benoit Saint-Denis, has fans excited for his fight-winning style that has led him to 12 victories in 13 fights and a big favorite against the dynamite-fisted lightweight in Matt Frevola. On today's episode, we'll take a look at... I am the god of war! It's the sickest nickname. Benoit Saint-Denis in this episode of Career Retrospective.
Oh, Till's out! It's over! No, it's over! It's over! That's what I'm saying, boy! Oh! He got dropped! It's over! It's over! Munoz! Oh my God!
Saint-Denis is one of the French fighters coming into the UFC at what couldn't be a more perfect time, with the allowance of France to hold events for mixed martial arts in iconic places like Paris and the country of France as a whole. Saint-Denis is one of the fighters that appeared on both the UFC returns to Paris, France, with countrymates Serral Gone and Manon Fiorot. He hasn't been fighting professionally for that long in mixed martial arts, debuting on the scene in 2019, which makes it even more impressive that he's won 12 fights already, and it includes 4 in one of the toughest organizations regionally in Brave Combat Federation, and 4 wins in the premier organization in the world, the UFC. It's not crazy he could have had such early success, though. He earned a judo black belt training in his youth from around 8 to 16, and then he entered the Marine Infantry and served 5 years, earning a Medal of Nations Gratitude and the Combatant's Cross. And the life of combat finally led him to kickboxing and jiu-jitsu, and then ultimately led him into mixed martial arts again in 2019, as I previously mentioned. He'd take no time to reel off again his first 4 submission victories, doing it in about 9 months, and he also logged a 13-minute fight against Artur Sispaniak with a scare in the first round, trading knee bars, but nonetheless, he had 4 straight wins, 4 submission victories, and they came, again, very, very quickly, and still had in-cage time and wasn't walking through guys like we've seen before with some fighters that are a little more inexperienced. But nonetheless, these wins would get him on the radar of Brave Combat Federation. They'd bring him in. He'd suffer a no contest in his first fight, but he'd bring judo and jiu-jitsu that would continue for him to have huge success in Brave, and he'd get his first win for Brave. We'd see in the battle of knee bars at around the midpoint of the first round, but this time Benoit countered a heel hook with a knee bar, and finished his much more experienced opponent with almost 70 fights in round 1. But nonetheless, his next fight would be a tough matchup, and it would be good booking because it would be against a jiu-jitsu black belt in Mario Said on a co-main event of Brave in Sweden. Benoit wasn't shook by his opponent's merits, and again quickly implemented his wrestling in the first round, choosing to put the fight where he wanted early on in the first round, and I don't think Mario was quite upset that the fight did get to the mats. And the first round was very close, with both fighters transitioning, whether from chasing submissions in the Mario case or defending them in Saint-Denis' case. It ended up seeing both guys have top position for significant amounts of that first round, and it being very, very close. It did show up clear, though, in the second round that the transitioning wore on Mario Said much more than it did Benoit Saint-Denis, and we got to see some stuff that we didn't see in his previous fights regionally, where he wouldn't give his opponent seconds to breathe on the feet this time, and he would put his opponent Mario away via TKO in the second round with a brutal knee, some brutal strikes to follow up, and he put his opponent away and earned his first TKO on the career, and again 5-0-1 to that point. And then that showcase, paired with his dominance in the grappling in his previous fights, he would catch on Brave's attention and get a main event, and the UFC would again watch his next fight closely on Brave 49 Super Fights in Bahrain, the main event against Luan Santiago. And he'd get back to old regional ways in the huge matchup against Santiago in a main event and submit him in the second round via an arm triangle choke. Maybe because of the lack of the experience, it would take one more fight before the UFC would come calling, and one more submission in the first round would definitely have the UFC contacting Saint-Denis' manager, and they'd get him a very, very tough opponent. Announced to have a matchup in October of 2021, his literal welcome to the UFC would be a savage, well-rounded striker in Eilzeu Zaleski dos Santos, and Benoit would rightfully open as an underdog in this one. Dos Santos served as the wall in Saint-Denis' undefeated run, dominating throughout the fight and significantly in the second round on way to a unanimous decision, which also included a point deduction on the Dos Santos side. So This was a very, very dominant win for Dos Santos. He proved his merit, however, and proved that Dos Santos' fight was an outlier in his career. This would also mark a significant move for Benoit Saint-Denis because he would go from welterweight and make the move from 170 to 155 pounds. A lot of his regional fights were at a catch weight of 165, so we could have seen this move coming, and Benoit Saint-Denis has not looked back since. It began with a dominant grappling display against the German Niklas Stolze, earning a submission in round 2 after avoiding the kickboxing ability of Stolze, and again showcasing some of the talent that he has in the grappling area. In his next fight, as the first French fighter on UFC Paris,
fighting out of Paris, France, Benoit Saint-Denis.
he made sure to deliver in front of his home crowd. He dominated the first round, nearly debuting GabrielMiranda out of there in 1 round, landing 2 knockdowns and 35 significant strikes on 62% accuracy, but it took him only 16 seconds in the second round to complete his second straight UFC finish. And those wouldn't even be his most impressive wins. His next big win was a stifling of one half of the Beaufin brothers, Ismail, who was riding 13 straight wins coming into the Saint-Denis fight, and then he did what a lot of fighters can't do, and he destroyed Thiago Moises on way to finishing him in the second round for his 4th straight UFC finish. Benoit Saint-Denis has uber potential in the UFC. He's only been in pro mixed martial arts since 2019. He has a great base. He's violent, exciting to watch, and I expect him to do great things in the UFC. But let me know, how far do you think Benoit Saint-Denis, the God of War, can go in the UFC? And I will see you in the next video, and I hope you all enjoy UFC 295. Peace out.